Hi guys, recent discovery 3 months ago. I wasn't very happy with my concept of gravity. Um, Let me explain again. I had an idea, early idea, about 2 years ago. Well, it started out when I was 27, so that's 18 years ago, about how gravity works. I figured we had nucleons throughout the universe, ether, nucleons. Um, nucleons. This is a nucleon, right? I am really messed up in the head now. Been that much sleep. Well, a nucleon spinning, gravitons in outer space, and when they hit the spinning nucleon, they will exchange places with one of those balls. So nucleon is made out of 6 gravitons. Exchange places, and then the next one spinning gives it a kick, accelerating the graviton into outer space, propelling the nucleon towards our planet. So a mechanism which has a problem with it, because if I do that, every time a graviton hits, it has to exchange places. It has to destroy the bond between those two blue ones or red ones, whatever. Destroy the bond, then take its place, and the other one flies out into space. Well, that's bound to go wrong. Say once in 1,000 times, once in 100 times, it doesn't matter. It's bound to go wrong one time. It's very precise, very delicate. And it means if this is worked through, then mass would disintegrate in a couple of seconds. So that was my pet peeve I had with it. I wasn't very happy with it. Another reason, this is a complicated system, and there's more to it. It has to be replenished. The energy of the nucleon has to be replenished continuously to swim against the incoming streams of graviton, to swim towards our planet. Which again needed, when you go this way, it to support the spinning, and when it goes this way, they again should exchange in order to make it happen, which again is destroying the nucleon and reinventing it. Very tricky, very dangerously, very precise. Actually, only can happen in theory, not in real life. So I wasn't very happy with it, but it brought me the shape of the nucleons, the shape of the gravitons. A graviton is a positive spring, 3 angstroms in diameter, and it travels at the speed of light. So that's what it brought me. It also brought me, of course, the Van atom model. So it serves its purpose. I'm happy with my old theory of gravity. It served its purpose. It brought me further. But now it has to go. Because, again, it's very complex, a very delicate mechanism which will go wrong once in a while. And we cannot afford that. So, and there's another thing, that's it. When you have a ball, an atom, a ball-shaped atom, I'd say, just a second. Let's say you have a ball-shaped spring, and the nucleon spinning around. This is how it actually looks. This is just, see these 4 points, something like this. This is much more detailed. This is bigger, on a scale. Every Q-tip represents a nucleon. Each Q-tip is a nucleon. So it's a simplified model. This is hafnium, the element hafnium. If you have those spinning nucleons on the outside swimming against the incoming stream of graviton, just like an aircraft propeller would, then only the ones on the edge can participate. If I have a proper idea spinning around, it cannot move, it cannot pull, because it has to be on this side. It has to absorb or take in a graviton and shoot it out this side to move it to you. So, which means the nucleons on this side, spinning or not, can't participate in the effect of gravity. Why is it a problem? Well, because gravity happens to be surface related and not circumference related. This is the circumference of the atom, and this is the surface of the atom. And the bigger an atom becomes, the bigger, of course, the gravitational pull becomes, and this pull is related to the surface of that atom, not to the circumference. Now let's see what I got for you. Right, here we go. It's described before, my earlier video, of course. You recognize it. This is when it's related to the surface, and this is when it's related to the circumference. So it relates to this. I literally took a measuring tape, like this. I measured all of my atoms, and then checked the relationship to its weight. And every time again, it showed it's related to the surface. Now, so those two things are wrong with the old system. It wasn't surface related, plus it was very delicate. So now there's a new system, and which means I was wrong before, which isn't much of a problem, but I was wrong. So sorry for that. Sorry for misleading you, giving you false information. It's only trying, but now I have two systems for gravity, two mechanisms, and the first one is very simple. It has to do with the quantization process in itself. This is a simple piece of mathematics. We have two gravitons, two ball-shaped springs, and they're flying into space. They both go at the speed of light, of course. Those ball-shaped springs. They have the same speed, the same mass, totally similar, which gives them a certain amount of energy, 4, and a certain impulse, also being 4. So, of course, A and B both have the same energy, same impulse. Now, striking an atom, they put energy into it, but then after a while the atom would explode. So an atom always has a continuous amount of energy. The energy in the atom will not increase or decrease. When it comes to a standstill, it doesn't have any gravity at all. It will fly into space, and when it gains energy, it will explode. So it doesn't gain energy, doesn't lose energy. It doesn't gain energy, mass, and doesn't lose mass. It's a very stable thing. So knowing this, and then looking at a small detail of an atom, where you can see the quantization process. You see, this is a nucleon spinning around, a nucleon. And you see this member, this is the so-called electron in orbit, or this proton. This goes faster. It has a certain speed going around, which means this one is on the inside going slow, and this one goes fast. So fast and slow ones you have. And that's the quantization process. When you have a graviton coming in, it either hits this one, the fast one, or the slow one, which means the velocities of the gravitons, when they bounce back, are different after colliding. So they come in, similar speed, and after bouncing off an atom, they will fly out having a different speed. They bounce back having a different speed. A going slow, B going fast. And the energy, of course, has to be the same, because otherwise those atoms will explode or come to a standstill. So the energy remains the same. And if we do that, if the energy remains the same, if we do that, energy here is 4, and there it's 4, same, then the impulse changes. And that's interesting. I didn't know that before, but it's a mathematical and physical certainty that if you have two incoming gravitons at the same speed, they have the maximum impulse if you have the same speed. But if the speed differs, their impulse will go down despite having the same energy. This is a certainty. You cannot change this. This is a mathematical rule. This is a physical rule. You cannot change it. So it's very simple. If you have two gravitons coming in, hitting an atom, they give a big impulse. And then the atom bounces them back. It quantizes them. A low impulse. So from outer space, big impulse, low impulse, pushing it that direction, right? But amongst them, all those, in between them, all those gravitons are quantized, because this isn't outer space, this is also an atom, also quantizing them, giving them different speeds, hence low impulse. So among them, they always have low impulse. A graviton coming from this side, average graviton coming from this side, has a low impulse, hitting this, which means you get push gravity. From outer space, there's always a big impulse, since both have same speed, and then after quantizing, they have a lower impulse, which means I have a little drawing. Yeah, I have more. See this very. Let's see this. Yeah, well, this will do. This will do. This will do. This drawing. I see here are 4 atoms, and the A side is the outer space side, where there's a high, because of both the same speed, high impulse, and then bounce back with a low impulse being quantized, a high and a low from the A side. From the B side, there's a quantized pair coming in, having a low impulse, and after being quantized by this, again, shooting out low impulse. So there's low impulse in between. You'll get an impulse vacuum amongst those atoms. It's push gravity. So this is a very simple mechanism, which shows how on a small scale, atoms are attracted to each other. And this is far less complicated than the older system, where you have to destroy and recreate all those nucleons all the time. This is just bouncing off, that's it. So it's much simpler, cannot go wrong. So I'm sure we both agree, replacing the old system with this complex mechanism to a very simple system of quantization being responsible for a force pulling atoms together. Quantization causes attraction, common attraction between atoms. No two ways about it. Very simple, very solid mechanism. That's the half of it. That's just the half of it. Because on bigger scales, say like planets, there's another force. And now that goes a bit towards Einstein's idea. What happens is this. If you have an atom, we all know that atoms have a, well, not all, of course, not the mainstream scientists, but you and I know that atoms have a kind of an atmosphere around them. I call it photonic layer. There's a certain atmosphere around it. Why? If you have a mirror made out of all those coarse and rough shaped atoms, then the photons should bounce back in all directions. But photons don't bounce back in all directions. They give us a very clear image of ourselves when we look in the mirror. So our reflection is perfect. Why? Because the photons don't bounce back off the rough surface. They bounce back from the atmosphere surrounding an atom. So what does that do with gravity? Well, that photonic layer, that atmosphere, in there, the quantized gravitons bounce off, shoot into outer space, but also meet each other sometimes and merge. And when they merge two of those, gravitons, we get a photon going at a certain speed, having a certain frequency, depending on the quantization process. So, in that layer, photons are created, and also, we know absorption patterns, photons are also destroyed within that layer, and that's a continuous process. And this process means that if you have two ball-shaped springs, photons, and they move, they get entwined a little or more, and then pull them out again, there's friction. It sounds funny, but small scale, indeed there is friction. If it creates either a gamma vibration, or at least it causes heat. So within the planet core we will find heat, and it doesn't cool down that quickly as we want it to, because that heat gets replenished. This continuous destruction and creation of photons means an atom, at least the atmosphere of the atom, eats energy, making those fast going gravitons going at the speed of light, they slow down, because every time they bounce, create a photon, go back again, then they go slower because they have lost energy right here. And that makes us look at Einstein's time, his concept of time. He says time slows down. I say no, not time. The processes slow down. The clock slows down, chemical processes, everything slows down. Not time itself, everything slows down because the gravitons slow down because of their interactions, because of their continuous. They lose energy in the photonic layer. They lose energy, constantly creating and destroying photons. So, and if you have that in a big ball, like our planet Earth, where atoms, where energy gets destroyed, every time. From here they go fast, then we go inside, and they go slower and slower and slower, all those gravitons, which means time slows down. And in return we get heat. So that's the second mechanism. First, time slows down, giving us heat, and when it slows down, what do we know about gravity? Well, it's same with the impulses. When you have a planet, and if high impulses are on the outside, big impulses, but those gravitons are slower on the inside, which then it brings again push gravity. Then again, the eating of energy within our planet makes that the impulses lower within our planet. That those gravitons are going slower because of constant creating and destruction of photons. They go slower. They lose energy, which means they lose impulse, which means more push gravity. So two systems of gravity, one on a local scale, the simple the quantization process itself creates atoms going toward each other, and on the bigger scale, there's the slowing down of the graviton, creating the slowdown of graviton, creating a gravitational force in the bigger scale. So I rather adhere to these two things, and they comply with Einstein's space-time, which is also very convenient. Then, and I rather let go of the old system. That's all for now. Hope to see you next time. Bye.